So I want to ask a personal question, if I may. So you are a lawyer. Lawyers are supposed to be cut and dry, rather unemotional. Uh, and here is a lawyer I'm speaking to who's talking philosophy, which is a lot of emotion. And therefore, how do you really, reconcile, or how do you really work at both ends of the spectrum, right? At one end, you are rational. At the other end, you got to be emotional, and you are actually having a professional qualification that you are a lawyer, which means that how do you really balance this, because you're not supposed to have a philosophical mindset if you're a lawyer.
Are trained to learn how to think analytically. And this is a very useful tool and does tend to make us dry and sharp and not necessarily the most philosophical. In my undergraduate days, and then I went to business school. And those two additional experiences gave me another perspective, which when I started working as a lawyer, I was able to observe things from a different way. I was always interested in the question of what works and why does it work? What works? I'm ultimately an immense pragmatic. I'm interested in pragmatism. And when I asked the question of not just what works, but why does this work, I came to the realization that very often, almost always, you could tie a success or a failure back to a question of human motivation, human character, an incentive that was designed correctly or incorrectly. And this didn't immediately get me into philosophical thinking, but it definitely got me thinking about the human factor. People are emotional. We think we're rational, lawyers too, but we're actually also very emotional. And therefore, if you can understand emotions, I focused on understanding others' emotions, and only later in my career realized, hey, my own emotions are also a significant driver of behavior, then you can pragmatically improve the quality of your work and your outcomes. So I think it was that trajectory, the psychology and the business strategy, which led me to think about people's character and their personal incentives and motivations, that ultimately led back to these more philosophical thoughts of, hey, everyone, we're all people, we're all human beings. Is a very useful tool to use to drive all sorts of other outcomes. That's how it worked for me, to go from the pure analytical side to the more emotional human side, which I found to be just a useful tool.